Hey guys,
Hello.
what's going on again?
What's up? Welcome to another
Nerds of the Decade episode number 13.
Yep, it's your choice whether we make this
If you want it lucky or unlucky or
however you want to swing it. And Dante, tell everybody what we are talking about on 13.
Alrighty guys, so basically on this one we are talking about quality
over
quantity.
Yes, and also what is going on with some of the anime titles, things you may like that are happening, or things you may hate that are happening, and also kind of, we're going to get into kind of which one you should be looking for. Should you be looking for quality, or should you be looking for quantity? And what are the differences, what to look for, and what you guys might not know about some of the quality and quantity differences between certain anime, and what might get on your nerves when you're watching
something that,
certain titles.
like basically what might get under your skin.
Yeah. So, dude, did you have any starting thoughts to start this off to kind of?
Well, I would probably say that
because you have things that, Dante, when you've watched shows, you've told me like, hey, look, I'd rather see this more than I'd see like the amount, like instead of the amount of anime, like I'd rather have like one or two really, really well put together stories rather than have like 15 shows come out and not be able to keep up. But then like half of those shows,
well,
like,
I definitely know that one of
terrible, or you're like, I'm not really into this story. And,
right. I definitely noticed that one of the things that I kind of wish that more people would actually pay attention to, like more studios would do more of. There's definitely like some hidden gems. There's like some lesser known titles that in terms of, and this is actually like a previous episode that we did, plot driven versus character driven.
Yeah, which was a previous episode. Well, dude, if you're throwing a thing, if you're gonna throw in a mention to that, dude, then tie that into the current one. Just a piece of it. You don't have to.
You're right. We're not doing like an over.
Yeah. But anyway, go ahead, dude.
But yeah, I kind of miss. I kind of wish that there would be like more shows like that. Like more shows that have like a great story, kind of like really sucks you in, even though it's only like 12 or 24 episodes long. I kind of miss.
So you're talking
like a well put together.
Yeah, you're talking
story.
plot and character based kind of stuff. You're saying you want
it's like a balance between the two,
a more in depth plot and character,
more like the whole
story.
9 yards.
Rather than like throwing in a ton of crazy stuff, or just going cheap, not cheap, but taking the easy way out and just going with something basic and not throwing in details or not throwing in a lot. Kind of like, okay, here's a good example. So you know how they did the Sword Art Online anime, the first part of it, right? First go around, it was good, but when you look at what they're gonna do now, when they're gonna go back and redo like the thing, they're gonna redo the entire show from start to finish directly from the visual novel, the way it should have been told. I'm like, that's a good example of, okay, they didn't cheap out the first time, but they didn't do it right. It wasn't.
They kind of left a lot of things.
Yeah, they cut out so much. You're like, if you're gonna do it, me personally, I would rather watch a show the written the way it's supposed to be done, the way it's supposed to be told the first time, and do it right. And maybe, I don't know, if you have to charge a little more for the Blu-rays,
not
or if
it's
a little longer, right?
But it did kind of leave a lot of details
out. Yeah, and also, even if you got to make it longer, or it's a longer show or whatever, I don't care. I'm willing to watch a longer series,
exactly,
as long as it's really well done. It has the details and stuff that you're looking for in the show, and it explains well. That's another thing that gets to people, is that when they don't explain stuff right, people.
Basically, if there's too many plot holes in the story and not enough explanation, that could also rub a lot of fans the wrong way.
And it leads people not to understand stuff. It could be misconstrued or taken the wrong way if it's not explained properly. So, like with Sword Art, the whole brother sister thing got taken the wrong way. People got the wrong idea, and it wasn't really that way. But people took that the wrong way. And
depending on who you ask.
So I mean, dude, and that happens too. People don't. If there's not enough explanation, that leads to like fan theory, and it leads to all kinds of crazy stuff. And like people are like, oh, well, this show might be not as good because someone said that it has like incest, implements in it, or it inspires rape culture or something. You know what I mean? So who knows?
I definitely get that, and I think also another thing that I've noticed when watching some anime, like way back in the day, even to high school and all the way up to now. One thing I've also noticed, a few titles. Other than that train, but other than
sorry about the train, guys.
Yeah, Come on, man. We're trying to do a podcast.
Right, yeah, really, right when we're trying to do a podcast.
I know, right?
And these mics are really sensitive.
I know, they pick up everything.
Yes,
like, yeah,
literally, if I farted right now, you'd hear it on the mic.
Please don't.
I'm not going to fart.
Oh, God, please don't. It's bad enough we got the train. Now we got to hear your butt.
My butt, yeah, no,
yeah,
my
we got to hear
ass.
your butt singing a Frank Sinatra song. Trust me, guys. You don't want it. You don't want that.
It's more like a. It's his name's not Frank. It's more like. It's more like. It's more like Richard or Chuck.
Exactly. But dude, I would actually say that another thing that's kind of a pet peeve of mine is when there's an influx of characters that literally either have nothing to do with the overall story, or not enough background information to make them even complimentary to the story.
Well, see, dude, that bothers me too. Like, okay, so
it's like an oversaturation of characters.
Yeah. Well, so here's a good example, okay, and this is my fear for this show: Data Live. Data Live has so many characters, and they have so many things that they could do more details. They could go way more in depth with some of the characters they already have, right? But no, they keep on adding more, and you're like, well, that's not good because...
And some of them just come in with, like, incomplete backgrounds.
And you can get a lot of incomplete backgrounds. You can also... It can also kind of it can also it can kind of distort or kind of...
there's, like, some character bloating going on.
Yeah, it can kind of bloat down the story or just kind of slow down the story or even, in some cases, harm the story because of the fact that you have so many characters and you're trying to do so much with so many characters that you just can't keep up, and you end up sacrificing story or plot for just to bring in more characters. So if there's any piece of advice I have to any of the famous Japanese writers or someone working on the Data Live show in Japan right now, please consider
try fleshing out a little
more characters out, doing more backstory. And also telling us more about the current characters that are in the show, especially the main protagonist. He needs more freaking story, and so does Kermie. Kermie has like almost they did very little on her backstory.
Kermie's a very mysterious, a very mysterious spirit, pretty much.
Yeah, so it's like that's the other thing that really.
But I'm hoping with the manga coming out, Data Bullet.
Yeah.
Hopefully it tells you a little more about her background.
Hopefully, and hopefully they'll do a side story or at least something about her.
Yeah, they said that we're going to be doing one, but so far, I don't know. It might be out, but I'm not sure.
I would also like to see a side story on the main character as well. On the
yeah, they don't really
because Josh Greeley's character doesn't really have much other than that.
They
don't
really
episode,
do too much with Shino though.
Yeah, other than one episode where they did him going crazy and the girls having to date him, they really don't tell you anything about Shido. So they really need to do more on him. I feel like he's like him and Kermie are two of the most like left out characters in the show as far as like backstory goes, because they've told a lot of those characters backstories.
That's true,
and I've had episodes devoted to them. But when you look at Shido, they rarely have told you anything about him or even really much information has come out. And then also, and Kermie, they barely have told you anything about her. So
pretty much,
yeah. So that's another thing that story suffer. What else, dude? What else did?
Oh man! Since it's the 1st of October, I definitely want to talk about this one. Incomplete stories when anime productions don't finish.
You're talking about cliffhangers, right, dude?
Yeah, unexpected cliffhangers, especially one in particular.
Which one?
Because today actually marks the 11-year anniversary of when this show aired in Japan. October 1st.
I know what you're talking about.
2010. One of my favorite titles, Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt, aired in Japan.
Yeah.
And to this day, still a cliffhanger. Never got a season 2. Ended with that whole,
So, dude, okay, I got another one, right? Okay,
we've all seen it.
There's a couple like that, right? What about there is a little old, really, really old show called Rave Master that never got finished. There's a couple other ones out there too. What else? No, Negima. The Negima never got completely done. The original series got done, but Funimation never finished the remastered or the remake version.
No, they didn't.
The manga I think does finish. No, the manga's unfinished too. I'm sorry. The remake manga is also unfinished. So that's another one I'd say. Also, Yuki Holder just so you guys know, this is another thing that bothers me, right? When you start a story, okay, and you get into something, but then you just stop like halfway through and you just start another one. Guys, please finish what you were originally working on, or try to like wrap it up somehow.
I think with the Negima manga, they finished it, but I guess for whatever reason, they thought it might have been a good idea to go ahead and do like a sequel to Yuki Holder.
No, it was a bad idea because Yuki Holder.
It didn't exactly turn out the way
Yuki Holder.
A lot of people thought.
I will say this, guys. This is my personal opinion. Yuki Holder was horrible. Okay, it was terrible, right? Like I much preferred the Negima series before the series, the remake series that Funimation did. The original one was good too. The original series was really good. The Negima original series was also very good, and the art style was very unique.
Yeah, I would say after the manga ended, I probably would have just ended it right there.
Yeah, I mean, like to go to Yuki Holder.
That's my personal choice.
There's two things with Yuki Holder that were a problem. The plot was not very good. The whole being not able to die, the whole immortal thing was not a great plot point to go on.
And it kind of seems that trope might have been done.
Yeah, and then they left out like so many parts of like what happened to Negi and like all the other characters in the original show.
They don't really tell you much.
Yeah, they didn't tell you anything. And you're like, what the hell? And then at the end, we're like, oh, he's a clone, he's a son, and then you're like, what the hell? You're like, I'm lost. Like, they didn't really specify anything. You're like, this show just goes nowhere. And it's like, I don't like shows that go nowhere. You gotta have a plot or a point or like something. There has to be an end game, right, dude?
Yeah, that's true.
That's another pet peeve where like if the show goes nowhere. So okay, another good example, right?
Right.
People are buying Love Rune like crazy, right? People just buy the series because
I thought it was like two. Is it two?
Two Love Rune. Yes, people buy that show like crazy, right? Here's my pet peeve with a lot of shows. I guess maybe
because they like the romantic comedy aspect
yes,
of it.
So here's my pet...
That's cool.
Here's my... I will give you some pet peeves on this one, okay? One is that it doesn't go anywhere. The story does not have a conclusive ending or a conclusive finish, right? Two, okay, if it does have an ending, it's not... You're not going to get a good, rounded, well-finished story like you would with some of the other titles, right? Because of the nature of the genre, right? Because of the nature of ichi genre, they normally, and love stories, they normally end it on a cliffhanger or they don't tell you what happens in the end. They're just like, oh, yeah, he had a harem. That's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. They leave it at that.
That's all, folks.
Or the other thing, too, is that because of the foolishness, the just general just goofiness of the show, and because it's more focused on... romantic comedy. Yeah, it's more focused on just goofy and just ridiculousness. And then also... the fact that, and this is something, the point that you actually brought up one time, the fact that they tend to, for those shows, right, because of that genre, they tend to focus more on the people who are into kind of that.
You know, basically the...
I'm trying to think of a way to put it. Not sexual aspect, but it's just made to be eye candy. It isn't made to be a story.
Fan service.
Yeah, fan service. They tend to focus more on that than they do actually the story. So that's a big like downfall when it comes to stories like that. Because if you're only focused on fan service, you can swing a story two different ways.
I think that could also be like another pet peeve aspect of mine when they basically. Rely too much
on
the fan service, or fan service is just like the main plot drive of the story.
Yeah.
Now, one exception to this would be High School DxD. Even though it does have fan service in it, there is a bit of a story.
High School DxD does have a plot and a backstory. That's only because it also has the action element to it. Same thing with not only High School of the Dead and High School DxD. But both of those, because they have an action element and like a more in-depth story to them,
right?
That's why they work. If you don't have that more action background or that more action-based story behind it, you just get a bunch of goofiness where you're just getting characters slung everywhere like a ping pong ball, and you're like, what is the point?
You have no idea where the plot's going.
Yeah, you're like, well, wait, there's aliens, there's pretty chicks, there's nudity. Like, what am I doing? Why am I watching this? Like, this is goofy and it goes nowhere. Kind of like Rosario Vampire, remember?
Oh yeah, so like, we did. I think for that particular one,
that's a complaint that a lot of fans have. A lot of people are like, "Hey, do like this to the follow the dang manga." Like, the manga was good, and I still to this day wish they would do one more.
You're not the only
tied
one
to the manga.
You're definitely not the only one. I think for that particular one, and this also kind of brings up another issue regarding regarding Rosario Vampire.
Yeah.
When the budget that you set
gets
for
cut
a series either gets cut or it doesn't match the intentions that you have for the manga in order to adapt it.
Yeah. They should cancel them if that happens. Because, like, they should just cancel the anime. Be like, look, we're not going to do it. We're afraid. We're afraid of what it could turn out to be. Or the director or the person who wrote it should be like, look, I don't want to do it this way. I want to do it to the original way I had planned. Or just, like, don't do it. Wait till your budget comes back.
We're kind of hoping that whoever owns it now, hopefully it does get a remake, but true to the manga.
Yeah, I mean, like, the other thing too is the translation thing, dude. What with translation? Sometimes they mess up on English translations, which was why a lot of people don't watch.
English that particular
dubbed
one,
shows.
It's very tricky.
Yeah,
it's very tricky with the meanings and the pronouns and the sentences. It's very tricky. I mean, ask any ADR director out there in Funimation, Viz Media, ask any of them. It's not as easy as you think.
Yeah, so dude, that's the other thing that
and some words may come across as milk, and while it's definitely a language translation from
it's a barrier
Japanese. Yeah, it's tricky. It's definitely tricky. Ask any of them. It's tricky. It's not easy.
Yeah, dude, I agree with you there. Yeah. Yeah, dude, that's another thing that I'm not.
But I think that I think this is pretty much a personal one for me. I'm like, even though yes, it's tricky to translate from Japanese to English.
Yeah. The
only thing that I hate.
Yeah.
Is the fact that certain individuals, I'm not gonna try to scope anyone out, but you know who you are.
Support that.
Not really support. It's more along the lines of like get upset to the point where they start sending death threats to the individuals who are trying their best to try to adapt it to the English language to the point where we're able to understand what's going on.
Well, I mean, dude, that kind of goes back to the whole subbed and dubbed wars, which that also gets on my nerves. People are so picky over the subbed and dubbed thing. It's
even though we honestly the whole sub debate has been going on for like a decade.
If you ask me, right, you can't blame the actors themselves. It's not their fault. A lot of the actors are doing their best with what they're given. Whether you're subbed, whether you're dubbed, it doesn't matter.
And English translation to adapt that script is not easy.
Yes, it is very hard. Yeah, to adapt stuff.
Yeah, there's like a whole big process, and I think that's also another thing when it comes to anime finally getting adapted. There's like a 22 step process.
Yeah, and you have to remember that some of the actors who play the characters are very talented.
There has to be some meetings.
Yeah,
people have to be, and I think. Another big one would be like the lack of quality.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not all the time. Not all the time is it Japan's fault.
Yeah.
But most of the time, when it comes to people wanting to do like their stories and everything, they can't just go in there. They have to book a time. They have to get the people that's needed for the project. And when they don't have enough people. That means other people get overbooked. Some people leave.
Yeah.
Some people get sick.
I was gonna say too is that some of the actors who played the parts for the English dub are very talented actors, but they may be under constraints, or the studio may have a certain way that.
And that also goes with Japan too.
You know, it's not that the actor couldn't do it. It's that they were under certain rules, or they had to follow certain things for that particular show, and that kind of. That's why I say, like, don't blame the actors directly. Don't attack the people behind the character. It's not their fault. They might be given out rules from above where they're not allowed to do.
And not only that, when a show gets licensed or
international licensing is a pain in the butt.
Yeah, it's like, not easy.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And not only that, when a show actually gets licensed in America, there's like a contract. There's certain things that they can and can't do. when broadcasting over American airwaves or like home video releases.
Yeah, true.
There's like certain things that they can and can't do.
Well, so the other thing too I don't like, dude, is I feel like that this is a pet peeve. I feel like America has an obsession with ass. Okay, because when you look at when they do shows, right?
I think we've been had that obsession.
Because
we had that obsession way before. If you were to go watch any MTV Spring Break show from like 2004 all the way to now, the whole "We Love Ass" crowd has been around for ages.
Dude, I wish that this is a meme that would just die already. Okay, like the whole ass obsession, like really.
The whole TNA.
Yeah, TNA, yeah, tits and ass, like
or pantsuit.
Yeah, that needs to die. Okay, like because what happens is one, a lot of times this just encourages trash television and just trash shows and like shows that don't have a storyline. I call it brainless TV. This encourages brainless TV, which is not good.
This brings up
and rape culture.
This basically pretty much brings up another type of pet peeve of mine.
What's that?
When stuff like that is trending.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to call anyone out here, but you know who you are. If you're someone who loves this stuff and
we're not making fun of you.
Yeah, we're not making fun of you. That's your choice if you want to like this. But if you're actively going after mindless stuff, guys, you're supporting.
Because at one point in time, we used to be guilty of that, but I think as we've gotten older, our taste kind of sharpened.
Let's put it this way, guys. You're not helping to produce anything of quality, of high quality. Like, to you, it might be great, and you might like it because you're not really wanting to follow a story, but you are doing a little more harm than you are good. Because by doing that, the animators and the producers are just pumping out. It's like okay. I'll put it this way: if someone put a pile of candy in front of you and someone put a pile of vegetables, which one would you eat? Of course, you take the easier out and you pick the candy because it's sweet, it smells good, and you're going to be attracted to it, right? Vegetables, you're like,
and vegetables are healthy for you.
Yeah, you're like, ew, it smells like poop. Why would I want to eat this? You know. But so like it's like you are helping the directors and writers to take the easy way out by giving them something that they can put anything in there, and you'd laugh or you'd crap yourself. Right.
I think like, also
so
definitely I would also say that for a lot of anime fans who love good quality, who have seen some of those titles that have kind of bring out the best in that show, plot wise and character wise, there definitely needs to be like more support for those shows. Not just streaming, but I'm talking about merchandise, DVD sales.
Buy the Blu-rays.
Actually, even emailing the directors and the writers and the creators themselves saying that we want more of this.
Yeah.
In fact, there was actually a video. It might be on YouTube, but PA Works was actually asking a select group of anime fans like, what new content or what high quality content do you want to see from us? When studios start asking fans what they want to see directly, especially when it comes to like like good quality anime plot wise and character wise, that's also a telltale sign that what do you know, they actually care about their
and let me
international audience.
Let me just be clear on something here, guys. We are not against fan service shows by any means. We
because we're somewhat guilty of that.
We also have our favorite fan service shows that we watch because they're funny, right? And because they do the whole boob and ass jokes,
especially when it's balanced.
Yeah. We're not against it. What we're trying to say is that just we are trying to improve the quality and kind of because right now there's a big focus on the quantity of anime, not necessarily the quality of anime. So if you look at some of the shows, and probably a lot of people don't even recognize this, but there's a difference between high quality anime that has fan service in it, but that doesn't make fan service the front and center piece of the show. And that's the problem, is that a lot of times people don't really look at that, or they're just watching it because they're like, oh, I can just turn my brain off for like a few hours. And look, I understand if you want to turn your brain off, right? Do that.
We all need that.
If you're going to turn your brain off to something that is actually good quality. Like, if you don't want to follow the story, great, that's fine. Like DxD, High School DxD, you can turn your brain off and just laugh at the perverted, terrible jokes that Odin and
because ain't nothing wrong with comedy,
and that's funny. Like it's hilarious, right? But you're still watching a really good quality, decent fan service anime. Same thing with High School of the Dead. You can turn your brain off, watch that show, and you can still enjoy the whole dang thing for the story and also for the fan
right.
service.
It's really going to depend on what you look for,
yeah,
or what you have a taste for. Because again, when we were younger, we used to be one of those guys that just like tits and ass.
Yeah, exactly. You turn on,
but as you get older,
boobies.
but as you get older, and as you see the climate changing, and everything that's going on nowadays, you kind of have a much better appreciation of the quality of anime that you're seeking.
Yeah, because
you now understand what's going on. You now understand what you want, what type of plot do you want.
You also understand stories
and also
better.
Your character development.
Yeah,
you kind of understand the process of how the story is being told a little differently as you get older.
Yeah, and dude, and like guys, it is not a bad thing to like your fan service shows. That's great.
No, that's not necessarily
just
a bad
be
thing.
aware that there is a big difference between watching something that is just kind of mindless and then watching something that actually has a good plot.
Something that'll actually drag you in.
Yeah, and I've told people, I've explained this on a couple social media posts I've posted, Facebook, saying like, hey guys, like here's some warnings of what to stay away from, because this could be something where you're like, the plot may not be as good, or you just might not like it because it doesn't have much of a, there's nothing to go on, and like
there's not a whole lot.
There's not a whole lot there
going on for it.
There's no substance to it, which, I mean, look, that's the case in a lot of shows that are. It feels like they're rushed.
But
that's a better way to put it, right?
Dude, I would probably
You remember early Marvel, right, Dante? Early Marvel films
when they
right?
early started.
Yeah, they were really rushed. They didn't really take their time. They didn't do things. That's kind of what the ichi genre of anime is now. It's just really rushed. They throw a bunch of boobs, like, oh, boobies, ass, and then boom, there you go, you got your show. You're like, no, that is not a show. Like, that's just rushing through stuff unnecessarily without really thinking of your plot.
That's pretty much just brainless comedy.
It's just brainless, mindless goofiness.
Mindless comedy, or
like,
mindless entertainment, brainless comedy, whatever you want to call it.
And what's worse, Dante, is that some of the, and I'm not calling anyone out here, but some of the fashion trends, right? If you look at the pop stars and the stars, some of the fashion trends now are trending towards the more skin you show off, the more attention grabbing, and the more. Right, and that's a bad thing too. Like, you do not want people. Well, you don't want to be. Naked.
You don't want to necessarily be dead focused.
Exactly, and
that's not leave good. A little to the imagination. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So so that's not good either. It's also not good for the mind. If you watch too much of that mindless ridiculousness,
you become a sexual deviant.
Yes, or a rapist, or you could be something terrible that you don't want to be. Trust me.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's not good for your brain. So just be.
It's not healthy. And also, I think another thing that a lot of certain anime friends might need to do is maybe go outside and talk to people.
Yes, yeah, that's a big thing too. Is that
because unless you work for Twitter.
Yeah.
Unless you work for Twitter, you don't need to be up there 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day.
Or Instagram. I just heard something on the news yesterday. Instagram is addictive. Be careful how often you get on Instagram. Yeah. It's a toxic environment. Social media is very toxic. So
Twitter
be
is.
Careful.
Instagram is alright.
Instagram's getting more toxic now than it was. They used to be, especially with the.
And that's only because
the fashion.
That's only because certain Twitter fans decide to move over to Instagram.
I mean, with the fashion and the cosplay, it's getting a little more toxic now. People are doing some really risky and adult content on Instagram.
Well, scantily clad.
Yes, it's getting a little more toxic. People are so focused on looks and not necessarily.
I know for like certain people who say like, well, if it's making you money, go for it, but just be careful how you go about it.
Yes, and also be careful because there are people who can try to put you down or shoot you down. So
there's some creeps out there, so please be careful if you're going to go that route.
And if you're underage, you shouldn't be on Instagram or social media. So, right, dude?
Yeah, if you're underage and doing that stuff, yo mama need to do more parenting. That's what one of my family's members would say.
Anyway, but so dude, back to the whole pet peeves thing. What else is your pet peeve with certain certain? Okay, so quality over quantity. What is your biggest pet peeve with some of the quality of shows now? Some of the stuff coming out now.
Well, I noticed that there's other than the shift, the appreciation shift. There's definitely been like a big shift in appreciation for certain anime genres.
Yeah.
So
well, it seems
I wouldn't necessarily call this a pet peeve, but it's something that you might want to keep your eye on. Because I was talking about the trends.
Yeah.
Like certain genres trends, like the Ichi genre is trending. The
Isekai.
There's way too many. There's way too many isekai.
They need to give isekai a break. Like seriously, like just turn the isekai.
Look, we get it. We know you're trying to squeeze as much finances out of the really popping trends nowadays, but like, come on, like give people a chance. Like give other trends a chance.
Yeah, and then Ichi,
like even try some that you never even tried before.
The Ichi genre also needs to kind of cool it a bit because it's getting a little annoying with it's the same stupid kind of ridiculous plot over and over again. You're like, this has been going on since like the 90s and earlier. Like, stop with the chivalry thing. No dude's gonna put up with these ridiculous chicks who are so full of themselves or you just want to punch them in the face about 100 times. And like there's a lot of it's a lot of repeat junk that you're like, well,
it's basically the same type of story over and over again.
And like you're like,
and you've heard it.
It's like, okay,
like
it's
millions
like
of times already.
it's like if it didn't work the first time, what makes you think it's gonna work this time?
Exactly.
You know, that's
a trend. And unfortunately, those particular ones are that particular anime is like fast food.
I like that, dude. It's like
it's basically fast food. It's quick to make, easy to consume.
Yeah, and so dude, that's back to my original point though. Is that by supporting that kind of stuff, you're letting the writers and the producers take the easy way out because they've done this a million times. They can literally just write a cheap story, like a really easy story about a dude who walks in a room.
They can
girls are naked, he gets beat up. You walk into the room, gets in over and over again, and they just repeat the cycle. And literally, then they have their whole story, and they don't have to lift a finger because they've done this like 5 billion times or more. And you're just continuing that trend that is it's not, let's put it this way, it's not a it's not it doesn't really like, it doesn't register on the quality chart. It's like, this is done before, it wasn't great and it doesn't make for a great story. But however, if you are able to put more time and devotion into building your characters and making your characters and having a good plot point and a good story, then
it's not like there's anything wrong with it. I mean, just don't make it the forefront.
I wouldn't say that. There's a lot of things wrong.
Of course, there's a lot of things wrong with it, but don't make it the forefront or the driving force of the story.
There's a lot of things wrong with it, and we won't get into that. But there's a lot of things that I should say, the problems in America, right? That America has right now that also are translating into anime. So sexism, racism, all that kind of stuff, right? It's all in the TV shows you're watching now, but we're not going to get into that. The point is, if you're able to use your comedy and your fan service and everything in a moderation and kind of in the proper manner, you can there are things that you can do with a story, right, to make it funny or to make it great without losing the plot point or the main kind of backstories to characters, or without losing substance to each character,
without losing like the core
values and also losing your main character, which a lot of stories I've seen now either they have no main character or there's just no backstory for the main MC, and you're like, why is there a main character if there's just no story? You're like, why even throw a character in there if there's no story whatsoever? If you're just gonna use them as a pinball, why are you throwing a character in there? Like at least if you're gonna try, right? It's like making food, right? If you're just gonna toss every ingredient in there and you're not gonna try to make something good, it's gonna be horrible. You're not gonna eat it, right? Well, if you're gonna make a story, why are you just gonna throw a bunch of nameless, brainless characters in there and then not even write a story for those? Not even give them any substance or anything. Of course it's gonna turn out bad. Like, what did you think was gonna happen? You know?
Yeah, I mean, what did you expect was gonna happen?
I mean, now look, we're not saying that people who watch that are bad, and we're not picking on anyone who watches that. If you are someone who likes to watch comedy and you like a good comedy story, then by all means watch Konosuba. Konosuba is a great, it has great substance to the characters and great comedy. There's some really good, funny stuff in there. However, that particular writer also wrote a show that wasn't so great. So just be careful. You got to really look at your shows.
Just be mindful.
Yeah, be mindful of what you're watching and be careful, because certain things are really great and other things are not so great. So, you what you want to do is you want to inspire the artists to do better every time. You want to try to and elevate them.
Yes,
you want to elevate them each time. So kind of like what we've been doing with the podcast by talking about all the different things that may bother you, right?
Yep. So basically, on that note, let me ask you: do you have any final thoughts?
Just that if you are, guys, don't take sides. Let's put it this way, right? Like, whether you like fan service, whether you hate it, whether you like a good story,
or rather you favor quantity over quality, or vice versa.
Just try to, if everybody would try to inspire the Japan and tell Japan that we want better quality overall. Everything needs to be done better, right?
Yeah, and not just that. Actually, like truly support. Like, buy the merch, buy the DVDs.
Yeah.
Buy it from legit sites.
Yeah, and try to help support the artists as much as you can. Some of these big production companies and stuff don't always give a lot to the actual artist. Like, very little money usually gets the actual artist. So if there's a way you can support the artist directly, like, by all means, do so.
Definitely go for it. All right, guys. So, this will pretty much wrap up number 13.
Was there anything, dude, that any other last final?
I would probably say that for my final thoughts, again, guys, if you truly, if you're truly looking for quality anime, definitely, please support it. Make sure that there's definitely need to be more support.
Yeah, and give it some thought before you just turn on any mindless genre or mindless comedy.
Before you just jump into the anime pool and not know how deep the pool is.
Yeah.
I mean, don't be afraid to either ask us or ask anybody that has like a little more knowledge about the type of anime or
someone type of shows that you someone who's watched a lot of anime. Ask someone who's watched
very You find a sage. Not a perfect sage, but find a sage. Find an anime sage somewhere that can give
guys,
you wisdom.
If you want to drop comments underneath this video. If there's anything that you guys are unsure of, or if you guys want a recommendation for a good show, drop us a comment.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll help you out.
Yeah, we can try
any
to
way we can, pretty much.
Actually, I have a recommendation for you. I'm going to start... Dude, let's start doing this, dude.
All right.
I'm going to recommend something for you guys. So, here's a anime that recently came out that I think is worth a watch and that more people should get behind. I'm going to recommend, and this is kind of interesting because it's a new anime. I don't usually recommend new shows. I'm going to recommend Fena, Pirate Princess. I really like the story.
Yeah, that one you can also see on Toonami.
Yeah, it's a good action story. It's got some good comedy in there. It's funny. You can kind of get behind it. The characters are, I think, really well done. The artwork looks amazing. I'm going to recommend that one. That's my recommendation. What about you, dude? Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, I would definitely say, Fena, Pirate Princess. Mm-hmm. And, also Chivalry of a Failed Knight.
Chivalry, definitely. Of course, Chivalry.
But yeah, definitely. So, guys, pretty much, on that note, that'll pretty much wrap up number 13. And as always, be kind to each other.
Yes.
Be nice to each other. It's a hard world out here.
We are all nerds, so
we're all nerds in some point, shape, or fashion.
Yes.
So before that other train blows its whistle again, we're pretty much going to end this particular episode.
I don't think there's any more trains today.
Yeah, hopefully, because my God.
But we do have one thing. Well, I should say we have to split like a piece of lumber, right, dude?
Right.
Unfortunately, our time's up. So, guys.
Yeah, so until next time, guys, stay nerdy
and stay
nerdy. Cool.
Yep.
We out.
Yep. We are out of here.